Hey all, welcome to my channel. Today, it's the last day of regular season baseball. Now it's the start of the playoffs. As a Mets fan, not too thrilled, honestly. I mean, this season has been a massive disappointment. As a Mets fan, I mean, honestly, the worst. You got the highest payroll in baseball. And the best you can muster up is a 74-win season, second to last place in the NL East. Can't even come close to, the Marlins are doing better. They have a, far more underwhelming payroll than you, basically, and they're in the wild card. It's a real surprise. I was afraid of that this was going to happen. Quite honestly, I mean, let's be blunt. I mean, this happened in '93, and the Marlins as well too. When the Marlins, I forgot what year the Marlins were, when they signed Reyes away from them, from the Mets. I forgot the year, but I was afraid this was going to happen, and it did. I mean, honestly, I thought Showalter himself would have kept the reins in to the point where like they wouldn't go this bad off, or they wouldn't be this bad, but unfortunately, things were going against Showalter. And let's not forget, Showalter is a great coach. He's a good coach. I don't think he fit the needs of the current generational players that you had, the current generation of players you have that's on the Mets team, basically. I mean, you've got a couple of selfish players. I hate to say this, but they are selfish players. Like, you got Lindor, you've got Alonso. They're going for their own personal reasons, own personal agendas, personal records, basically, more than anything else. So they can get that, essentially that payday, basically. They want that payday. Now the question, you've got Vientos, Vientos, what's his name? Batty, basically. Those two coming in at this point as well too. I mean, that's one of the highlights, at least, is like, we're able to identify some of the players that the Mets have that might be good enough. I mean, honestly, the fact that they re-signed Diaz and then Edwin Diaz, and then he injured himself in the World Baseball Classic, kind of sucks in that situation, but it is what it is, unfortunately. Then of course you got Nimmo. They re-signed Nimmo, and of course he had a longer slump than more people than anticipated, basically. And then of course we've got Scherzer not doing well. Similarly, Verlander not doing. I mean, Verlander was coming back to what he was back to normalcy, but unfortunately it wasn't early enough or fast enough, similarly to what's to Scherzer, basically. I mean, trading up Verlander to the Houston, it made sense for them. Quite honestly, I thought when they signed Verlander, it was a good move, but from my perspective, like, guy's a little old. I'd rather build off of their farm system or get someone younger, basically. I mean, if they could have re-signed DeGrom, that would have been great, but DeGrom had his heart set on in Texas. I knew, the Mets were not going to be able to keep him. It happened. If the Mets could have traded for a pitcher or two, that would have been great, but unfortunately that was not going to happen. So, I mean, it's sad to say, but, but like I said, at least one of the highlights of this season was we got to witness a couple more, their farm system players. I mean, more specifically, you got Alvarez. Turns out he is actually a good rookie. He is that good. So hopefully this can translate to, his sophomore year, the second year, tomorrow, next year or next season. Similarly, Batty, he showed highlights of how good he was. Question is, can he maintain this consistently like Nimmo did? Or is he going to be like another Mike Conforto, basically, where he's on again, off again, basically? If he is, then you might as well get rid of him at that point, quite honestly. And of course, you got Alvarez as well too. The question is like now, not Alvarez. I'm sorry. With Vientos, you got Vientos as well too. And the question is Vientos good enough to be playing third baseman, or should he be DH, or should Batty be DH? Because let's be honest, I hate to say this, but Vogelbach, fan favorite, but he's got to go. He's not your DH. Quite honestly, I mean, who doesn't love to see a fan up to bat and hit and swing? And potentially miss. I mean, that's what I loved about Bartolo Colon when he was going up to bat. But Vogelbach didn't do much. You've got to trade him, get rid of him. I hate to say it. Trade him for whatever you can, or release him, whatever it may be. But he's not your everyday DH player, basically. He didn't produce like he was supposed to. Honestly, I I think I mentioned it maybe way back when, in one of my earlier videos, when J.D. Davis was with the Mets, that when J.D. Davis was hot, they should have traded for him. They should have traded him right when he was hot and gotten some serious, serious. I don't want to say serious players, but at least serious prospects. They could have gotten some really good prospects in return for him, but that didn't happen, unfortunately. Now the Mets have to build up their pitching rotation now. So the real question is can they get Yamamoto? I mean, Senga proved that he is your middle of the rotation, back of the rotation type of pitcher, but he was proving that he was probably your number 2 starter for sure. But honestly, there were no starters, there were no aces on the staff, so he's not your ace. He's definitely your middle of the line, middle of the rotation, back of the end of the rotation pitcher. And then of course, the question is, can the Mets sign Yamamoto? Now, if they can sign Yamamoto, that'd be great. But honestly, it's going to be a little tricky for that matter, because honestly, there's quite a number of teams looking for him. And if Senga has proven how good he is, Yamamoto is supposed to be better. So the question is can the Mets sign him? Well, I'm hoping they can, because the thing is, if they can do that, then you know what? There's a possibility we can sign this man. Then if we can sign this man, and again, this is a once-in-a-lifetime generational player, like that can hit and pitch. If we can sign him, you change the face of the New York Mets. They become serious. I don't want to say serious contenders, but they become contenders for the wild card, at least for the playoffs. I mean, they have enough players and on the team to make it at that point. I mean, the Angels, they had enough decent players and they should have made the playoffs, but they didn't. Why? Because injuries. If the Mets can stay healthy for next season, and if the Mets can sign this man as well as Yamamoto, I mean, granted, it'll be probably their rotation will pretty much be Japanese pitchers, and you'll get a whole new fan base. But this is a once in a lifetime generational player. Now the real question comes down to is this: if the Mets can get this man right here too, this guy right here, if they can get him, and this man, but the question is, this man's not going to be a free agent until 2 years from now. If they can trade for him, get him, because having these two players on your team changes everything. Now, people are saying, who are you going to trade him for? Look, if I'm the Mets, trade him for Alonso. If you could do a 1-to-1 swap for him for Alonso, do it. Why? Here's my reasoning. Alonso is sort of a one-dimensional player. Soto is another generational, once-in-a-lifetime generational talent that you need him there for. That you won't see for quite a while. Now, Ohtani, of course, is pitcher hitter. But this man can play defense as well, too. And he can be your right fielder or left fielder for that matter, but most likely your right fielder. He's a once-in-a-lifetime, generational player as well, too. So, having these two on your team basically changes the dynamics of everything, I think. And that's why I think the Mets should make a play for him and try to trade for him. If they could trade Alonso with Batty, do it. I'll do it, honestly. Or Vientos and Alonso, do it. But the other question is let's not forget, if they could sign this man with Yamamoto, I think their pitching rotation becomes stable enough that they should be able to do it. Now the thing is, you might say well, why do you need pitching? Well, without pitching, unless you can produce 12 runs every game, at least 12 plus runs every game, you're not going to win. Now, if you have really good pitchers as well as a good defense, and you could keep your team keep the opposing team under 5 runs or less, maybe 3 runs. If you could keep a team under 3 runs or less, you have a shot of winning the game. 5 runs or less, at least you have a decent shot, and you know that you got a potential to get there. Now, if you don't have any hitting, then you got to leave if a good defense can keep the opposing team to 2 runs or less, you have a much stronger shot of winning at that point as well, too, quite honestly. But yeah, in this situation, you got to build our pitching rotation again and relief pitching. That's one of the biggest things that the Mets lacked in this year. And unfortunately, even with Diaz coming back, that's your reliever. You still need your closing. That's your closer basically, but you still need relief pitching. If you don't have the bullpen and built up, it's not going to work out for you as a Mets fan. It's not going to work out. Now the other question comes down to is this: with Showalter leaving, what happens with the coach? Who becomes the new manager? Stearns is coming in. There's talk about potentially him bringing in Greg Counsell, because Counsell is becoming a free agent for the after the season with the Milwaukee Brewers. He's done really well with the Brewers, but can he do this with the Mets? I don't know. My thinking is this. Look, I want Showalter, but you're not going to get him. So they parted ways with him. So the next best thing I think they should go for is you already have him in your front office, Carlos Beltran. You had him originally before you got Showalter. You had Carlos Beltran there. Unfortunately, because of the Astro scandal, he had to let him go. But that's gone now, and to the point where I'm like, you know what? It's back to where he can probably manage at this point. Let's give him a shot. Let him manage. If he manages really well, perfect. It works for the long term, basically, for that point then. And honestly, I think that might help out in the Mets. Can this happen? I don't know. I'd love to see how Carlos Beltran does as a manager. I mean, he has the instincts, he has the smarts, he has the baseball savvy to manage these players, and he's got that. I don't want to say je ne sais quoi, but he has that ability to communicate with the players really well. And I think there's always going to be that generational gap between player and manager. I think he's a man that knows how to bridge between that. So I think he might be a good manager. The question is, can he make it? I don't know. Or will they use him? I don't know. It's a question that's up in the air. But with that, I'll leave it at that. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. You're welcome to comment. Leave a comment there. I do read my comments, as I mentioned, in all my videos. I do read them all when I get notified, that is. And I also do respond to them when they warrant a response. Do you think, the Mets should make Carlos Beltran the manager? Was Bucky Showalter wronged? Do you think the Mets should trade for Soto? If they have a shot to get Juan Soto, should they trade not their entire team, but for sure Pete Alonso and Batty, or Pete Alonso and Vientos for Juan Soto? Do you think the Mets can get Shohei Ohtani? I'm hoping they can. And do you think it's a case where, that was just a front when they were trading off Scherzer and Verlander so that they can just get rid of them and potentially still build off of the 25 season? I mean, honestly, look, you get Shohei Ohtani, you can still build around him, basically. Quite honestly, you build around him for the 2026 and 25 season. That's the case for them. Because this is a once-in-a-lifetime generational player. You don't want to give him up. You don't want to pass this opportunity up. Similarly with Juan Soto, if you could trade for him and get him and maybe re-sign him down the line, do it. I would do it in a heartbeat. But with that, I'll leave it at that. Let me know your thoughts again in the comment section. But with that, I'll leave it at that. If you love my videos, love my content, love my channel, please subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, that is, and if you have subscribed, I thank you for that. And if also with that, if you like this video, please like it or dislike it, depending, because again, please leave me some feedback, because I'm trying to build up this channel. I'm trying to put in the proper discussions about certain topics, and I'm all over the board, as you see in my channel. But if it's all over the board and you like it, great. If you don't like it and you think I should focus on one topic, let me know. I find out by the thumbs up or thumbs down section. With that, I'll leave it at that. Unfiltered, unedited, and of course, unrehearsed. Until next time.